From CBS News Bay Area, this is the Evening Edition.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Andrea Nakano.
And I'm Brian Hackney. We begin with evacuation orders in Lake County as a new fire starts in the Bay Area. This time in Lake County, about 7 miles southeast of the town of Clear Lake. The Sky Fire is burning hot and fast enough to trigger evacuation warnings issued just over an hour ago. Ground and aerial resources are headed to the scene. Fires burned about 25 acres of the sparsely populated area near the Cache Creek Wilderness, the same area hit by a number of fires over the past 10 years. We'll have updates on this fire as soon as we have them.
Now to the latest on the Pickett Fire in Napa County. This one is still burning near Calistoga. The flames burned nearly 2,000 acres in roughly the last 24 hours. The fire is now nearing 7,000 acres after moderate fire activity overnight. According to CAL FIRE, containment still sits at about 11%.
Protecting property the highest priority, especially in areas like Etna Springs near Butts Canyon Road, where the fire has been most active. Andrea?
Today, firefighters set up control lines while mopping up inside the fire lines, and they tell us that containment is the main focus over the next few days in that rugged terrain as weather conditions are expected to shift.
You know, one of the things about this fire that makes it very difficult is just the terrain. The roadway system is not very well developed in the fire area. It's very, very steep in some places.
Bay Area Air Quality District is extending the air quality advisory through Monday for the North Bay, and Darren's here to tell us how bad all of this is, the smoke from the fire.
The air quality, thankfully, has been okay, yeah. And you'd think otherwise from the way this has been a pretty good smoke producer. You can see where the fire is here. This is a Pickett Fire. In terms of its location for where it is in the North Bay, the smoke from that has been continuing to emanate from there and get pulled off towards the northeast. Watch what happens on the Futurecast depiction of that. Thankfully, the smoke is going the other way. So if you're locally near this fire and you can smell smoke, you're breathing in more particulate matter than you want to. But for the rest of the bay, we really don't have too much of a vulnerability to it. The smoke's just getting drawn away from us. And just an overview on the Pickett Fire, Napa Valley, that's Calistoga up at the head of the valley. The Pickett Valley started here, worked its way up the canyon, and over the last 2 days has since crested that ridge and started to work its way down the other side of the ridge down towards Pope Valley. So that's the latest on that. I'll be back with the full forecast coming up in just a few minutes, guys. Back to you.
Weekend sideshows lit up the streets of Richmond and Oakland last night. The ongoing issue highlights pressure from President Trump on cities like Oakland to control crime. The president is already planning to send the National Guard to Chicago as part of his law enforcement crackdown. Oakland Mayor Barbara Lee says the president's claims don't match the facts in her town, with crime down 29% in the first 6 months of the year. But neighbors are criticizing police response and vow to take matters into their own hands. In Richmond, police said they responded to sideshows at 23rd and Barrett Avenue, Hensley Street, and Richmond Parkway. In Oakland, Market and 45th Street and 41st and House Streets in Oakland. One fed-up neighbor tells Dahlin that he would take drastic measures to get these sideshows to stop.
Donuts, M80 explosions, even a car fire. Sideshows have become a regular problem in the Bay Area, but that doesn't make it any easier for the people who live through it.
If I had a gun, I would have started shooting. Really?
Would have been dangerous.
Where were the police? Where were the police?
Glenn Collins was livid after the loud spinouts woke him up, and even more frustrated by what he calls a slow police response.
Irresponsible youth, lack of police enforcement. If there's no police, nothing's happening. These people are having fun.
Glenn and his neighbors say a huge crowd took over the 41st and Howe intersection for about 40 minutes. They say this Infiniti, likely stolen, finally broke down from all the spinning. Then a mob jumped on it and set it on fire. Neighbors say police didn't move in until after the car was torched to break up the crowd of rowdy drivers and spectators.
Because they could get something else on fire, you know what I mean? Like these old buildings around here, that's kind of scary. That seems like extra. I don't think they need to be doing all that.
One neighbor tried to put out the flames with a fire extinguisher but was told to back off for his own safety. Police say this was just one of at least 4 sideshow locations in Richmond and Oakland on early Sunday morning.
The wheels screeching and people yelling and screaming, and It's just insane, just complete insanity.
But not everyone was upset. Some neighbors say as long as no one gets hurt, they don't mind.
I'm kind of waiting for it. I don't mind.
It was fun to watch.
Fun to watch. No problems with it.
It was fun to watch.
It's loud. It was 1 hour. It's a Saturday night. It's not that big of a deal in Oakland.
So far, we're not aware of any injuries from Sunday morning. Still, people want to know why police didn't break it up sooner. The Oakland Police Officers Association released a statement saying they simply don't have enough officers to safely move in. The union says there were 16 police cars, but about 500 participants and spectators.
Poor excuse. Poor excuse. Get in there and do something.
Glenn says he doesn't see a solution other than moving out.
I think the solution is to move out of the neighborhood. Really. This is going to happen. This is unresponsive Oakland police.
We're not aware of any arrests in the Oakland and Richmond sideshows. Now, in the past, when officers had enough video evidence, they would later track down the cars and tow them, but we're not sure if that's going to happen this time.
In San Francisco, local Ukrainians gathered for their annual Independence Day celebration, even as they anxiously wait to see what the Trump administration's next move will be. The war between Russia and Ukraine has dominated the news lately, with the United States seeking a deal that would end the bloodshed. John Ramos has the story.
For most countries, celebrating an Independence Day is about commemorating a time, usually in the distant past, when they gained their self-determination. But for Ukrainians, it is a struggle that has gone on for generations and is still continuing to this very day. Modern-day Ukrainians mark August 24th as Independence Day. That's the date in 1991 when the country overwhelmingly voted to separate from the crumbling Soviet Union and become a free and democratic nation. But this year, it comes when the country is once again fighting for its life. Melanie McCutcheon is a member of the Ukrainian National Women's League.
Ukraine has been struggling for freedom for centuries. And this is just, this last very serious Russian invasion that started in 2014 really, but the full-scale invasion started in 2022 is really just another example of Russia trying to really colonize Ukraine and destroy Ukraine as a free, independent, sovereign people.
9-year-old Daria Turi sang an Independence Day song about her ancestral homeland that she has only visited once as a baby.
Well, I mean, like older kids might think like, what is going on? But like, for me, it's happy. You know how like the war in Ukraine right now, it's really sad. So people are singing and doing like stuff so war to end.
It is the older people, some who emigrated here in the 1940s to escape Stalin's oppression, that see this latest invasion as an ongoing fight for survival.
6 years in the United States, and I'm grateful for every day here to God.
Father Roman Babasuk read a prayer expressing thanks for the refuge that America has been for so many Ukrainians.
And we are grateful to God and grateful to all people of the United States of America for support, for help. It's very important to be united and to know that someone is with you, because only in unity, only with God, only in prayer, we can overcome this evil.
That's ironic because at the infamous Oval Office meeting between Presidents Trump and Zelensky, Vice President J.D. Vance accused the Ukrainian leader of not showing any gratitude.
Have you said thank you once this entire meeting? No, in this entire meeting, have you said thank you?
Here in the Bay Area, Ukrainian protests, or gatherings of any kind, are full of thanks to the United States. Even playing the American national anthem at the concert. The Ukrainians know that their fate may rest with the ability to get arms from the United States, and the current feeling is hope mixed with concern that their security should not be contingent on giving away part of their homeland to get it.
It's not a choice between peace and appeasement, because appeasement will not lead to peace. The only thing that will lead to peace is strength, and that's making sure that Ukraine has the arms it needs to defend itself and the security guarantees from European allies and the United States to deter Russian aggression.
President Trump has said repeatedly that he seeks an agreement to stop the bloodshed. The Ukrainians are relying on that, but they want him to also know that in the end, this is not a real estate deal.
Coming up in the First Alert forecast, we are out of heat advisory territory. That's good news. These are today's numbers. They're pretty much exactly where we should be for this time of year. How long can we stay here? We'll look at that coming up in the full forecast after the break. We're doing kind of a classic summer transition right now. We're going from a couple of days where the heat kind of spiked on us a bit, heat advisories inland, but that's all done now. And we're kind of transitioning into the much more quiet pattern of watching the marine layer off the coast here at home and see what's going on the radar up there. Isolated thunderstorms showing up across the Sierra today. Again, it's just like yesterday, but it's isolated over there. And that should be going on this time of year. We should be seeing thunderstorms in the summer over the crest of the Sierra like that. It's a pretty good showing today. And thankfully, there's a decent amount of rain with it. So we don't have any reports of fire starts today in the Sierra from that. This is probably the way it's going to go for the next couple of days. So let's get you ready for tomorrow. Watch what happens to the marine layer, having just kind of set itself up right off the coast. We'll see that build in tomorrow morning. Almost identical to what it did today. It's going to fill in the entire bay. It'll probably bleed over a bit into the Tri-Valley and some of the inland valleys. This is where we start Monday morning at 7 a.m., and it's pretty much full effect of August to start the day. It'll melt back tomorrow, but maybe not entirely for the city. Certainly not for the beaches. Took its sweet time here, and I brought us ahead to 2 o'clock in the afternoon tomorrow, and you can see what's going on. You've still got some of the marine layer here that's streaming in through the Golden Gate, even into the early afternoon tomorrow. Although everybody else will have plenty of sunshine, and that's probably where it'll camp out for the afternoon before it builds back in again as we get into tomorrow night, and from there on as it continues to progress, as it normally does. Here's a quick review on daytime highs. Let's see where we're going to be tomorrow. Daytime highs will pretty much land on the spot on for average. Mid to upper 80s for our inland East Bay. Temperatures in the North Bay, your numbers up there will also be relatively warm. You'll be looking at 80 in Santa Rosa. You'll go to 76 in Redwood City. The city's only going to the mid to upper 60s, and we'll see temperatures up in Napa in the mid 70s. That's good considering that we want to get a handle on some of these fires, not only now in the Pickett Fire in Napa County, but the new grass fire we've been talking about in Lake County. We're not under real nasty fire weather conditions here. This is just a matter of relatively dry grasses and shrubs for this time of year, but no nasty wind. That's huge. And we wouldn't really expect too much of that this time of year anyway. Let's see how this plays out in the 7-day forecast. We'll start out by looking at our inland microclimate first. The numbers here aren't really going to budge a whole lot. Now that we've seen the numbers come to average, mid-80s here over the next few days, and we pretty much just stay there, maybe a little bit of a bump as we get towards next weekend and perhaps into Sunday of next week, where we had to go back up into the mid-90s, but it doesn't look too extreme. And if we compare that to the 7-day forecast for the Bay, you see what your numbers look like on here, pretty much staying average as well, and maybe a subtle warm up there as we get into next weekend.
Well, dinner time is approaching, and here in the Bay Area, there's a big appetite for oysters. But did you know that scraps from a seafood dinner are helping the Bay? Next Arrow does.
You can see a little oyster there.
They're small yet mighty organisms.
Oysters are so important to marine ecosystems.
And if anybody knows a thing or two about oysters and the role they play as ecosystem engineers and shoreline stability stalwarts.
But they filter 10, 20, 30 gallons of water a day.
It's Jeevan Kaki.
They help to clean the water of pollutants and particulates and algae that we might not want in it. My whole kind of drive as a scientist is to see the species succeed and to help restore our estuaries, because we really depend on them. Yeah.
Kaki is the lead scientist for the Wild Oyster Project. It's a group that is working to bring native oysters back to San Francisco Bay.
Because of historic human activity and historic changes in the bay, we really lost a lot of our oyster populations in the late 1800s and early 1900s. And only recently have they really started to come back with our restoration efforts.
That includes the team's creation of these oyster reef balls, aka orbs. You can see the top sticking out above the water at low tide, to build the Heron's Head Oyster Reef in Bayview Hunters Point.
It's so cool to see projects like this work. We've exceeded our project goals each year. We keep finding more and more oysters on the reef balls, which is pretty exciting.
The team built the orbs with a material best suited for success, recycled oyster shells. And they're able to acquire them largely thanks to people in the Bay Area having quite the appetite for oysters.
We sell about 3,000 oysters a week.
Rachel Barrett and her team at Mission Rock Resort don't throw out their oyster shells. They put them in bins like these for the Wild Oyster Project to pick up on a routine basis.
They're here usually once a week.
And they're just one of many restaurants doing this. She and the team say they depend on fresh and clean seafood to run their business.
We are very focused on local product.
So they feel like supporting an effort to maintain and revitalize the local marine ecology is really a no-brainer.
No matter how big, how small, everybody can make a contribution.
So we use the shell for all kinds of stuff. We use it in oyster reef balls. We use it in other oyster restoration projects. We've also started partnering with marsh restoration efforts.
Kaki says the mission to restore habitats and protect shorelines is only growing more important for the region as sea levels rise and the climate changes.
We depend on bays for recreation. We depend on them for just the beauty of them. We depend on them for so much economic interest. Everybody that lives on a bay, even if you don't go to the beach every year, you depend on it in one way or another.
And fostering an environment for these small creatures to flourish may play a mighty role in the bay's health and future.
Well, that's interesting. That's it for us at 5. We'll see you back here at 6 for an hour of news.
Full hour?
Full hour.
Wow.
And you're going to be here.
Okay, I'll drop in.
You'll drop in.
CBS Weekend News is next. We'll see you in 30 minutes.